Guys, welcome back to another video. Of course, it still is the international break. It still is, unfortunately, dragging on big time, but the show must go on. Today, we're going to look at 5 things that we've learned so far from this season. Yep, I was thrashing around for some video ideas, and this is the best I could come up with today. But it's going to be an interesting bit of content, I promise you, because now feels like a good time to reflect on what we've learned this season ahead of the Manchester derby this weekend. Speaking of the Manchester derby this weekend, as I'm putting this video out, recording it now, there's only 2 hours left until this competition, this wonderful competition from Football Prizes ends. You could win 2 hospitality tickets to the Manchester derby this weekend at the Etihad, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, by clicking the link in the description and entering that competition. As I'm recording, only over 100 people have entered. It's only a few good to enter, and you could have an incredible weekend, hopefully an incredible game, an incredible memory. Go into that competition right now. You've got to be really, really quick if you want to enter. It's a raffle, but many people have won already who follow this channel, so fingers crossed you can be the next one. Go do it, head out to Football Prizes and enter that competition. So today we are going to look at 5 things that we've learned so far from this season. By the way, this is a new space, if you noticed. Directly below me is my old office because we've got an incoming baby, of course, due. It could happen any time. Nicola could be going into labour right now as I'm doing this video. She's not. But, you know, it's that due, the baby, that I had to move upstairs to the attic, which is recently decorated. It's a bit empty in here still, so sorry it's a bit echoey, but there will be a sofa here eventually and a TV there, and it'll be more padded out eventually. It just takes time. But it's a big echoey room. But it's a nice room, isn't it? A blue wall. Finally, a bit of blue in this office. I can't wait to get it fully up and functional. As you can see, it should be a nice little studio for me. I'm glad to be back making videos too. But I'm going to start anyway with the first thing that we've learned this season. The most obvious thing that we've learned this season, the Haaland factor. Haaland changes everything. He absolutely does. We've been crying out for a killer in front of goal since Sergio Aguero played his last Manchester City game. And it looks like we've got Sergio Aguero on steroids, man. This is a pumped up, aggressive, prime killer version of Aguero even more. This guy is an absolute monster in front of goal, and maybe, just maybe, he changes everything. Now, of course, we don't really know how the season will pan out, but so far we've seen Haaland already scoring at record-breaking pace. I do remember at the start of the season people being cautious, going, oh, you know, maybe he'll get 20 goals this season or something like that, because the internet had told him he was going to struggle, and I remember saying he's not going to struggle because that guy is an absolute killer and fears no one, and it doesn't matter even if he plays poorly, he will score goals to Manchester City, and that is exactly what has happened so far, and I see no reason whatsoever why that would not carry on and carry on and carry on. And Guardiola has every intention to play him in every game that's important. I bet you anything he'll play every week if possible, get off here at 60 minutes after scoring a couple of goals or a hat-trick, and job is a good one. But the thing for me that's changed this season so far is what Haaland allows us to do, man. Like, in games where maybe we're not playing too great, we can whip the cross in, and Haaland will put out one of his big freakish feet and get a little kind of nick into it past the goalkeeper and set us on the way to get that energy and get the essentially a turnaround and get the victory. That's what Haaland's unable to do. And for me, Haaland is our biggest possible chance of winning the Champions League. I do think Haaland makes things different. It feels different to me having Haaland in the team, because games last season when we came up short because we wasted so many chances, it just doesn't feel like that's the scenario anymore. Haaland doesn't let that happen. He is a killer, and he is changing how Manchester City are perceived in this league. We were already the best team in the league. Now we're the best team in the league with possibly the best striker in the league as well, and I'm very, very excited to see how this season could unfold. The second thing I think we've learned is actually, despite myself included, everyone being a little bit nervous going into the season about our squad depth, because of a couple of transfers towards the end, our squad depth is actually pretty good, man. It's fine. It really is. Those last-minute additions of Sergio Gomez and 𝐿manuel Akanji out of nowhere, if we're being totally honest, have really padded out the squad nicely. It isn't the world's biggest squad, but it doesn't really feel to have any glaring weaknesses anymore in that squad, which is lovely, lovely stuff. It does feel like we've got plenty of options, plenty of people we can move around and play in different roles and so on. And essentially, I've always said, and I said it before the season, as long as we signed our defender or our fullback, I would be happy, because ultimately we didn't need a world-class player in any of these roles, so who knows, maybe Akanji will be that, but we just needed senior players who were good pedigree, who understood how we played, to just kind of step in here and there if we needed them. And we've already seen that from all the players that we've signed so far. Alvarez, of course, absolutely brilliant. We know Haaland is insanely good. We know Kalvin Phillips if he gets fit, which he will do, I'm sure, will be a great addition to the squad. To me, even Sergio Gomez looks more than capable of doing a role for Manchester City. I have no worries about being on the pitch. Manuel Akanji's been excellent, and Ortega's a good backup goalkeeper. All the signings have padded out our squad nicely and brought a little bit of freshness, and brought a little bit of energy. It has felt like revolution, actually, not evolution. It's normally evolution, not revolution. But to me, this feels like a big change. And the squad depth right now, it looks really good. After a slow start to the season with the squad depth, now it feels nice and full. And that bench, it doesn't seem to have any glaring weaknesses, in my personal opinion. Though it has sort of changed how we view our defensive options. I mean, people always debated our best centre-back pairing. And a lot of people would have gone for Diaz, Laporte, or maybe Stones and Diaz. It feels even more open right now, and that's kind of what I love about it. We did a video yesterday, of course, on this channel, me, Joe, and Mulv, the day before, actually. And we talked about how keeping 5 centre-backs happy may be really difficult. But, I mean, that's a problem for later. I mean, the underlying problem with that is that we've got 5 really good centre-backs. But I think what we've learned is that there's no real set centre-back pairing. I don't think there is this season. I think players are going to rotate an awful lot more than in previous years, simply because the quality that we've got is so high right now that they all demand regular football. And that's great, of course. It's great, but it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds during the season, because you've got to keep them all happy, and that isn't going to be easy, especially when they've all done really well. Stones is brilliant, even if he's playing as an inverted right back. Diaz is world-class, Laporte world-class. Akanji's been flawless since he came in. Ake had a flawless start to the season as well, and has really won his trust amongst the fan base. And not that he needed it from Guardiola, but he just looks great. So we've learned that it's going to be very interesting to see how this unfolds, and I can't wait to see how he does, actually, because challenge and competition is good for these players. The fourth thing I want to talk about is how Manchester City this season have become a lot more direct. And I nearly went into this when I was talking about Haaland earlier, but I held off for a reason, because I want to talk about it in a little bit more detail. I mean, we knew it was going to happen. And it also sort of links to what we were talking about before the season, about maybe that we don't need pace out wide. Having pace out wide is good, but I kind of implied, and I said it on Twitter, and a few of you follow me on Twitter, I kind of said that I don't think we really are going to need pace out wide as much as we used to think we did. Like, of course, when we were breaking down pack defences, the trickery of Sterling or whatever, or maybe Jesus out wide, used to be really, really useful. But it probably doesn't need to be led on anywhere near as much, because once again Haaland is there. It's really strange how we've replaced that pace out wide with 2 factors, in my opinion, which have really changed things. Haaland, meaning you can just whip a ball into the box, and Cancelo or Mahrez or Grealish or Foden or whatever, or KDB, they are going to find Haaland, and eventually that is going to lead to a goal. Because as good as the defenders can be, look how good Haaland is. He's 6'5", acrobatic like Zlatan at his peak. You can't really stop him eventually, because the defenders can only do so much. Eventually, he will find the ball and he will score a goal. So it doesn't matter if you get all your defenders behind the ball. He's 6'5". Our players are too good. He's going to get a chance. And also, we've replaced that kind of pace out wide with an industriousness, I would say. You saw what Alvarez brought to the team. Alvarez has brought pure chaos and energy, and I really like how he's brought that kind of erraticness to how Manchester City attack. He's just wasping about, even more than Jesus did. He reminds me of Tevez when he gets going. So we've replaced that kind of pace out wide that we had previously with just a more reliable A-game, which is just whip it into Haaland, or bring on Alvarez and get Foden there and get everyone buzzing around Haaland, and Bernardo there pressing as well. And it just creates chances for us. So we've become a little bit more direct with KDB and Foden and everyone trying through balls a little bit quicker to Haaland, but it works. And it's necessary to play into what Haaland brings to the team. And I like it. And I think the final thing that I want to talk about is that I think we've got more to come. Like, City have had a really good start to the season. It hasn't been perfect, though. It hasn't been perfect. We have conceded a few sloppy goals. And it comes from, in my opinion, still early season rustiness, because it is still early season. You may not feel it, but it is. We're getting to the point now where we sort of reached our physicality peak, where the players have just about got into their rhythm, and I feel like we're about to see more. I feel like Manchester City will find that control that they usually have as well. Even with Haaland in the team, I've got no worries that we'll find that control, and it's going to be fascinating to see how the players start to mix that new direct approach that we've got with the physicality of our centre-backs and so on, but starting to bring that control that we usually see around winter and from like November to January, February onwards, where we go on these winning streaks. I think we have got more of that to come. Guardiola will fix the problems that have seen us concede a few goals, so we don't have to come back. And I think this Manchester City side, as good as it has been so far, and as many goals as it's scored, is only going to get better, which could be quite a terrifying thought for our rivals, but it's a harsh reality that they're going to have to accept. City have been great, but we're only going to get better, and that to me is very, very, very exciting. I've really enjoyed the start of the season. I really have. I know we're obviously in second behind Arsenal. We've had a great start to the season, but we are unbeaten currently. We've scored 23 goals in 7 games, averaging over 3 goals a game. And defensively, our record is still pretty good, even if we have conceded a few sloppy goals. That's crazy. I think we've got the second best defensive record in the league, which is quite frightening for our rivals once again. I've really enjoyed the start to the season. I think it's been fresh. I think it's been a little bit chaotic here and there, but to me, it's got my blood pumping, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think you should have enjoyed it too if you haven't already. The team does look fresh. It does look different. And to me, that is what football is all about. A little bit of chaos, a little bit of erraticness thrown in there, the Haaland factor, the superstar, and players playing for their positions yet again. To me, that makes football very exciting to watch. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Do let me know down in the comments what you've learned personally from the season so far, and from all the games so far. And don't forget to check out that football prizes competition. It ends very, very, very soon, about 2 hours from now, 7:30 tonight. Enter it. And you could win 2 hospitality tickets for Manchester City versus Man United. It's just started raining when I'm up here. I don't know if you can hear it on the skylight windows. If you can hear it, do let me know, because I'm very curious to see if it's picking up, because I've not recorded up here yet like this. Either way, it's quite relaxing. That I might just go and sleep on the sofa eventually when it's here and just under the rain. Anyway, thanks to all the patrons. Thanks to all you guys for watching. Big love to you all. Like, comment, subscribe. Back tomorrow in a bit.